I must be slow this morning 'cause I still didn't get it.
Bro, what? I must be slow this morning because I still didn't get it. Eric Adams was indicted for bribery and essentially 5 other counts that were alleged against him. Now, we broke that indictment down on the channel. I'll put the link to that somewhere above. And in the event, I did a video on 3 mistakes that his attorney made and the terrible argument that it appears his attorney is going down. It looks like he's trying to analogize Eric Adams' case and say it's similar to Brian Benjamin's case, which is a terrible idea because Brian Benjamin charges have been reinstated. I'll put the link to that video up as well. But I saw something on the news and I thought, wow, this is interesting. Sometimes there are unique, but I would say rare scenarios where you should probably play dumb. Sometimes instead of playing dumb, it's best to just be quiet. So I saw a clip of Eric Adams talking and I thought either he's playing dumb or he really is dumb. I wasn't sure, so I said, let's talk about it. And I'm also going to point out an argument that his attorney is trying to make, why it is a good thing, but more importantly, why I think it's a bad thing. And generally, the best rule is, hey, you address legal matters in the courtroom, not in the public forum. Let's go ahead and jump into the video. Let's get it.
The mayor's attorney asking a judge to toss out the bribery charge against him. He says the travel benefits the mayor received are normal courtesies given to politicians and do not amount to federal crimes.
All right, Fox 5's Arthur Chen live outside Gracie Mansion with more on today's developments. Arthur.
Steve, Natasha, there have been a lot of developments. The mayor spent today showing New Yorkers that he is willing to and determined to still perform as his job as the mayor of New York City while his lawyers were in court trying to get a judge to dismiss a key charge against him.
I've done nothing wrong. Time will prove that. And people will look back on this moment and say, we're glad we gave this mayor the opportunity to do the work he's doing.
As the work week kicked off, Mayor Eric Adams dove into his work with public appearances, from a promotion and graduation ceremony at the sanitation department to an announcement on changes to and investments in New York's water supply. Adams was indicted on 5 federal criminal charges Friday, alleging he took bribes and illegal campaign contributions from foreign sources. This morning, Adams' lawyers asked a judge to dismiss the bribery charge, saying a gratuity is not the same as bribery.
Congressmen get upgrades. They get corner suites. They get better tables at restaurants. They get free appetizers. They have their iced tea filled up. That's just what happens.
Over the weekend, Adams' top advisor, Ingrid Lewis-Martin, was subpoenaed and had her cell phone taken away at JFK Airport as she returned home from a trip. Federal investigators also searched her home. The mayor spent the weekend making his appeal at churches across the city. As for the line between gratuity and bribery, we asked the mayor today about where he draws that line. This was his response.
Okay, now really pay attention to this part right here. This is actually where I got the title for the thumbnail in this video. Y'all let me know, is he playing dumb? Is he actually dumb? And then after this video, I'm going to break down the argument that his attorney made. And again, I always talk about it, why you should generally shut the hell up when you got criminal legal proceedings going.
You've made the point before that government does work if you have relationships with your constituents and they bring things to your attention that you go and it's your job to get those done.
Yes.
What would you say to members of your administration and including members of the police department about that relationship, whether there are boundaries in terms of what is exchanged in that relationship? Are there limits after which it starts looking bad?
I didn't get that. That was a little too complicated.
Part of that exchange of that relationship, for instance, are coffee or meals. What is the city's rule when it comes to when that relationship kind of tilts into something that the city might not look favorably upon, even though they're trying to gather information that's important to their constituents to act on?
I must be slow this morning 'cause I still didn't get it.
Bro, what? I must be slow this morning because I still didn't get it. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this because you're either dumb or you're playing dumb. As somebody who's been a government employee on multiple occasions, the rules to this are simple. So don't act stupid. A lot of times it's better to be silent than to act stupid. The correct response should have been, the matters related to the criminal indictment will be handled in court. Right now, the discussion is about how I can continue to serve the beautiful city of New York and its constituents. That's my focus, to provide effective leadership. We will address the court matters in court where I will be vindicated on all counts. End of statement. That's what it is. It's simple. It's not rocket science. That's what he should have said. The question was simple. The question, you can't make the question any simpler than what it was provided. The question is, at what point do gifts that you receive or someone who's a state employee receive start to cause an issue, start to look a little suspect or a little sketchy? Let's dive into it. Let's take a look at the New York rules, regulations, statute regarding gifts and elected officials. Okay, this is the New York State Commission on Ethics and Lobbying and Government. It's talking about gifts. Let's talk about who is covered under the gift rules. Who is covered? Very first, A, covered persons include state elected officials. You know who that is? That is Eric Adams. So we know this is talking about gifts, and Eric Adams is covered. Next, what is a gift? What is not a gift? The commission will generally consider something that has a fair market value of $15 or more to be a gift. Gifts include, but is not limited to, money, services, loan, travel and lodging, which is that issue here, meals, refreshments, entertainment, forbearance of debts, and other things. Things to consider. You cannot redirect an impermissible gift to a third party, including your spouse or child or a charitable organization. Next, if you accept multiple permissible gifts under the same source, if each gift is worth less than $15, you could still, depending on the circumstances, violate public officers' law. Are there exceptions? Yes, there are exceptions to the gift rule. Here are the exceptions generally: awards, plaques, or recognition of public service, honorary degrees, promotional items with no resale value, discounts available to the general public. For example, a wireless provider offers discounts to all government employees. Gifts from family members and personal relationships where it is clear that the relationship is not being used as a pretext to give an otherwise impermissible gift. For example, if I worked in government and my cousin worked in government, and we are first cousins and we grew up together, and I came to work and my cousin gave me tickets to the floor game for the NBA Finals. That gift falls under exception because we have a relationship that extends past work. That's what that means. Okay, contributions to political campaigns, meals and beverages provided the participants at professional and educational programs, local travel payments for tours related to one's official activity, food or beverages valued at $15 or less per event, and complimentary attendance at certain events. Okay, so now that we know the definitions, the attorney is trying to do something that is smart, but I think it's more bad than good. There are two causes of actions or two criminal issues here. We have the campaign contributions, which we're not talking about. Let's knock that out. We'll talk about that in another video. We're focused on the bribes related to trip and travel. The attorney's argument is that this isn't criminal. These are gifts. These are complimentary things that people get all the time. Now, his argument is that it's not criminal, but he's essentially conceding that it is an ethics violation. So the reporter tried to lock him into a statement where he would expressly say that gifts over $15 has a specter of some type of impropriety, but Eric Adams wouldn't go there. Instead, he played dumb and he looked dumb. Instead, he should have probably just said next subject. But that's the argument. The attorney is trying to say it's not criminal. It's an ethics violation that could have some sanctions, but it's definitely not prison time. Why is this a bad argument? Well, let's talk about the facts of the indictment that we went over. Typically, when you're looking at conduct, things related to the facts, this is a question of fact. This isn't a question of law. We talked about the difference between the question of law and the question of fact. A question of fact is up to the jury. So if the question is, were these items unpermissible or gifts that weren't allowed? Yes. Were these items, or could these items been a part of a quid pro quo for a bribe? All of those are questions of facts. So that is going to go to the jury. So I seriously doubt that he'll be able to get those charges dismissed. The other reason why I think it was just a bad argument is because when you're looking at facts or jury is looking at facts, essentially they're going to use their context clues. They're going to look at circumstantial evidence. The fact that he continued to get these upgrades, the fact that the upgrades were worth tens of thousands of dollars in benefits that only applied to his closest staff and his girlfriend or his spouse. And the biggest fact that we see is there were apparent attempts to cover up the value of the services. At some point, he allegedly sent a text message to a staffer saying, go pay the airlines this $10,000 cash that I got on your desk, and they never received a payment. And another instance, the staffer was talking with the airline saying, you got to make it look like he's paying something. The airline said, okay, we'll charge $50. And they were like, no. It has to at least be $1,000 to look legitimate. So when we look at all of those facts, all of that circumstantial evidence, I think that an inference can be made that those bribes as relates to trip and hotel stays and upgrades could be a part of the quid pro quo related to bribery. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. The only other thing that the video was talk about, and I'm just going to talk about it because I don't want to pull the video back up. Essentially, one of his staffers got married. The staffer who got married, she is a part of a separate investigation along with her now spouse. And the benefit of two persons who potentially have some criminal exposure, or one of which have criminal exposure, is the spousal privilege. You can't force someone to testify against their spouse. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. And if you enjoyed this content and got some value, hit the like button and check out the content on the screen.